put your hands together. Go crazy for Kevin Lightsey.
I've been playing tennis for the last 52 years. I started playing tennis when I was a freshman at Cass in April '72. Now, I had played other sports. I tried basketball, but I could never get the ball in the hoop, and they laughed me off the court, and it was my own backyard. I even went out for the Cass Tech football team. But I could never catch the ball, but they tackled me anyway for sport. But when I discovered tennis, I fell in love. I swear I thought I was going to be the next Arthur Ashe. But there was a problem. I couldn't play tennis to save my life. But it wasn't me, it was the racket. I was playing with a school racket, and that racket was as old as Cass. It was probably the same racket that my father played with when he went to Cass. And I knew better than to ask my parents for a racket, because tennis was not on the top of the list on the budget, and they kept a tight budget. Matter of fact, I remember one Christmas, I came down all excited to see that they got me that bike that I wanted, that 10-speed, until they turned on the lights, and the bike was pink. And I'm not a pink kind of guy. My mother swore up and down it was red. It was pink. Even my brother and sister laughed at me. All I knew is I couldn't ride that bike except at night. So I knew that the only reason she bought me that bike was because it was on sale. My mother specialized on getting stuff on sale. It was on the 50% off rack. So I knew better than to ask her for a tennis racket, for fear that it was either going to be bright blue or pink. And I knew I couldn't play tennis at night. But fortunately for me, I went to Cass Tech. And Cass Tech was right downtown near the best shopping in the 70s. And that's where I found Epps Sporting Goods Store. Epps Sporting Goods Store was right around the corner from J.L. Hudson's, and Epps had every racket. I went to Epps every day after school. And that's where I fell in love with the Wilson T2000 tennis racket. Because I just knew that tennis racket was going to make me like the people that used it on TV. Famous. I used to go to Epps every day. And I'd ask those salespeople 1,000 questions about everything I couldn't buy. And at Epps, that's where I discovered I had a superpower. Because I had asked every salesperson in the store, and my superpower was nerd invisibility. Because after I asked all those salespeople 1,000 questions, they didn't want to have anything to do with me. And every time I'd come into the store, they would be somewhere else. One guy would have an emergency inventory over here, and the other guy would be counting burnout light bulbs in the ceiling. And if I wanted that $60 Wilson T2000 tennis racket, I had to find a better way because that racket was $60. And in today's money, that might as well have been $400. And I only had $5. And that's when I say, when strong desire meets opportunity minus common sense, bad decisions are made. And I was about to make one. Because one day when I came into Epps, I found out that my book bag looked just like that tennis bag over there. And that's when I started to make a plan. First thing I did was I went to Epps and I found the T2000. I took it right off the rack. And I found the one that fit my hand just perfectly. And I put it in the tennis bag. And then I zipped it up. Then I took the bag and the racket and I put it over in the corner. Then I waited a week. Came back the next week, it was still in the corner. They didn't put it back in the inventory, they wouldn't miss it. Then that next Friday, I came into Epps with my empty book bag with no ID in it. And I wanted to first check and see if my nerd invisibility was still intact. It was. As I walked in and everybody scattered. I walked around for a few minutes. Then I walked over to the corner, dropped my book bag, picked up my new bag and racket, and just for safety, for the next 5 minutes, I walked around Epps, and nobody said a word. Then I simply just walked out. But I swear, as I was walking out, I could hear multiple sighs of relief as I left the building. I went right back to Cass, put the racket in my locker, and never took it home. But I thought I had discovered fire. Because now I thought, if it was that easy to get that, what else did I want? Well, I wanted a stereo. I didn't want a boom box. No. My Uncle Donald had just given me 2 stereo speakers, but I didn't have a console stereo to play them with. So that's what I wanted. So the next week I went shopping. I went to J.L. Hudson's. Now, J.L. Hudson's, for those that don't know, in the 70s was the largest department store in the city, if not the country. J.L. Hudson's was a block long by half a block wide by 32 stories high. And I confidently walked into J.L. Hudson's as if I was invisible. I wasn't. They had more salespeople than they had customers. And they always kept an eye on me. But that didn't stop me. I just went down the street to Crowley's. Now, Crowley's, it was perfect. Crowley's was less than half the size of J.L. Hudson's, but better than that. On the 5th floor, where they kept all the stereos, they only had 2 salespeople. And after further investigation, I discovered that at 3 o'clock, those 2 salesmen took a break. And Sally from Cosmetics came up to relieve them. Now, Sally didn't want to sell stereos. She wanted to sit at that desk over there and read the paper. And that was fine by me, because now I had a new plan. I went in there, and first of all, I had to figure out which stereo would fit in my tennis bag. Now, I couldn't go in there with a tape measure, so I had to measure it with my hand. So I found one that was exactly 11 hands and 2 fingers long, by 4 hands and 1 finger wide, by 3 fingers deep. Then the next day, I came in and I unplugged it and wrapped the cord up real tight for easy transport. Then 2 days later, when the cord was still wrapped, I switched it from the middle of the shelf to the end. And then that next Friday, at 10 minutes after 3, after Sally was firmly reading her paper, she was into it. That must have been a good article. I walked up there on the 5th floor. I walked around casually with my empty tennis bag. I walked down to one aisle, and then I walked down the aisle where my stereo was there. And with my tennis bag open in my left hand, as I walked past it, I just slid it off the shelf, and it just magically fell in my tennis bag. It was an accident. And then I just casually walked towards the elevators as I zipped up the bag. But then I heard a noise. I heard click, 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 Sally's high heels, and she was coming. She must have looked up from the paper and saw something was missing, and she saw me leaving, and it wasn't there. She said, hey, hey, hey. I didn't even look back. I abandoned an idea of taking the elevator. I hit the stairs. I went down the first flight. I went down to the fourth floor. I went out of the 4th floor all the way on the other side of the building to the other bank of elevators, took that down to the 1st floor, and I figured I was safe now. I walked off that elevator just as cool as you want to be. Then I looked over, and there were 2 guys with blue blazers with security written on them. They looked like Marines, and they were looking around like they were looking for somebody, and they were looking for me. And as soon as they saw me, they started coming towards me. I saw the door over there. I started running for the door. It was one of those revolving doors. I hit that revolving door so fast, I almost went back in the building. I fell out to the street, and then I wondered, well, what did I do? What do I do? I looked left, I looked right, and then I looked right again, and then I saw it. I saw it, my savior. That DSR bus right there, idling right there at the bus stop. I ran over to that DSR bus, and I was just about to get in, and then I saw this little old lady just struggling to get up the stairs. At the same time, I looked over to my left, and the security guards were coming out of the building. They were coming out of the building. I wanted to pick that lady up and help her. And just as I was about to run, she cleared the aisle. I jumped up on the bus. I put my change in, cha-ching, and I held my breath. And just then, the bus driver hit the door and hit the gas at the same time. And I thought I was clear. But then the security guard started banging on the bus. And I thought for sure this is it. But thankfully, my bus driver kept driving. And I thought I was clear again, but then my mind started thinking, these buses have numbers on them. They're going to be at the end of the line with the police to put me in the cuffs. So then I got off at the next stop. I ran over 2 blocks, got on another bus, got off of that 3 stops later, got on another bus. It took me 4 hours to get home. And when I got home, my mother said, where you been? Why did it take you so long? And I said, well, the chess club went long today. I ran up to my room. I took out my stereo, and I opened my nightstand where I used to keep my snake. Oh, that's another story. And I put my stereo away, and then I made 2 rules for myself. The first rule was I would never tell my brother and my sister because they'd rat on me. And the second rule was I'd never play it when anybody was home. Now that lasted for about a month. And one day, one Saturday, when nobody was home, I started playing it real low at first. And then Michael Jackson came on, and I turned it up. And I started going for the beat. Well, I don't have a beat. I don't have any rhythm. But I was into that offbeat. And I didn't hear my mother come in. I didn't hear her until she came through my door. My bedroom door just opened. It didn't knock. And before I knew it, she was standing above me looking and saying, "Where'd you get that?" I was thinking fast. John. John's the only name that came into me. I didn't even know it, John. And then she says, "How much did you pay for it?" And $25. And that's when I realized I made a mistake. I left the price tag on. It said Crowley's, $199.99. When my mother saw that, she went nuts. "Oh, that's stolen. You gotta get that shit out of my house now. Go call John or whatever his name is. Go call him, because it's gotta go. He gotta come get this." So I ran downstairs to the kitchen, started dialing the numbers. Well, I didn't know who I was dialing because there wasn't no John. And just before I got to the last number, my mother came to the kitchen and said, "Hang up the phone. I want this out of this house now. Go get it. We're going to take it back to John's house. Now." If I tell you I was scared, I was scared. Because I didn't know where to take it. I went and wrapped the cord up for the last time. Took it back to the car, down to the car she was driving. And as she drove down the street, I'm trying to figure out, where the hell am I taking this? But I figure if I had her turn right on Curtis, I'd have time to think about it. She says, "What John's address?" I said, "I don't know what his address is, but I just know how to get there." And as we're going down Curtis and we cross Livernois, it came to me. Jimmy. Because Jimmy's kind of sketchy anyway. And Jimmy lived 3 blocks over, so I told her, turn at that next street. She turned and we went down 2 blocks over, and that's when I saw it. That's when I saw his pimped out Ford Pinto with the fuzzy dice hanging from the rearview mirror. And I told her, I said, "Stop right there. It's right there. It's that house. It's that house." Before she got the car stopped, I jumped out of the car, sprinted up to the porch, and started ringing that doorbell like my life depended on it. But Jimmy was taking his good old time. I knew he was home because his car was there. And just as I heard Jimmy come to the door, I looked behind me, and my mother was standing there. And she said, "I want to talk to John's mother." Oh, my God. As soon as Jimmy opened the door, I started blinking my eyes like Morse code. I was hoping he'd get it. And then I said, John, "I know your mother works on 3rd shift." And I started blinking my eyes some more. And then he got it. "Yeah, Kevin, keep your voice down. My mama's asleep." And just in that moment, I took that stereo, shoved it in his hand, and for God's sake, he slammed the door in my face. Thank you, Jesus. And as I was standing there trying to catch my bearings, my mother looked at me and said, "Boy, don't let this happen again." And then I reflected, this wasn't worth it. The fear of going to jail, the fear of getting caught, the lies I had to tell, and the disappointment in her face just thinking that I bought a stolen piece of material, but I was the one that stole it. She would have killed me. So that was the last time I stole anything, not even a pencil. That next week, I got a paper route, saved, I got a boom box, and unfortunately, my T2000 tennis racket got stolen. But I learned a lesson because that racket didn't make me play any better. It's not the racket, it's the practice. But on that day, my mother saved me from a life of crime. And it took me until I was 50 years old to tell her this story. Thank you.
Kevin Lightsey.